She walked onto that clay, carrying something most athletes never carry onto a court. Not just a racket, not just ambition, a mother, a comeback, and a quiet, burning obsession to prove that the best chapter of her career hadn't been written yet. Elina Svitolina just won the Italian Open, and the way she did it, beating the world's second, third, and fourth-ranked players back-to-back in the same week, is the kind of run that makes people stop mid-scroll and pay attention. Let's talk about what actually happened in Rome, because this wasn't just a tennis tournament. This was a statement. Svitolina, ranked outside the top 10, came into the Internazionale BNL d'Italia without the fanfare, without the spotlight. But she went through Elena Rybakina, the powerhouse who hits the ball harder than almost anyone on tour. Then Iga Swiatek, three-time Roland Garros champion, one of the most dominant clay court players of this generation. And then, in the final, Coco Gauff, the reigning French Open champion, a 20-year-old who plays with the ferocity and fire of someone who already knows what it feels like to lift a Grand Slam trophy. Svitolina beat all three of them in the same week. On clay, in Rome, without dropping a set until Gauff pushed her into a third. The final itself was extraordinary. Svitolina came out sharp, composed, and controlled in the first set. She was broken early, clawed back, was broken again, clawed back again. Twice she had to dig herself out of a hole at 4-4 just to stay alive in the opening set. But she held her nerve during the long, grinding rallies, the kind that wear you down physically and break you mentally. And when Gauff double faulted at the worst possible moment, Svitolina pounced. First set, hers. Then came the second, and it nearly slipped away. Gauff, the reigning champion, didn't come to Rome just to lose a final. She fought back, stayed in the match, and at 5-5, she found a reflex volley at the net, the kind of instinctive electric shot that reminds you why she's one of the best in the world. The net cord helped her, but Gauff still had to execute, and she did. Svitolina broke right back. Immediately. That's the kind of mental toughness that separates good players from elite ones. But Gauff raised her game in the tiebreak. She was better, crisper, more aggressive. She dragged it to a deciding set. And if you thought Svitolina might crumble after losing that second set, after being so close to the finish line and then having it pulled away, you clearly haven't been watching her closely enough. Svitolina herself said it. Losing that second set was painful, really painful, but she refocused. She went again. The third set was tight early. For games in, nothing between them. And then Svitolina found it. A backhand in the seventh game that shifted everything. She broke. She broke again. And from there, she didn't let go. 2 hours and 49 minutes. 3 match points. She held her nerve on all of them before sealing it on the third. Now here's where this story gets bigger than tennis. Elina Svitolina gave birth to her daughter, Sky, in October 2022. She came back to the WTA Tour as a mother in 2023, and the question a lot of people were quietly asking, even if they didn't say it out loud, was whether she could really get back to the very top. Not just compete, dominate. She's been answering that question ever since. She knocked Gauff out of the Australian Open earlier this year. She knocked her out of the Dubai Tennis Championships. And now she's beaten her in a Grand Slam lead-up final on the surface where the French Open is played. Laura Robson, watching from a broadcast booth, put it well. It was Svitolina's resilience that defined the week. Not just in the final, but across 2 weeks of brutal, late-night matches in exhausting conditions. She was going to bed at 5 in the morning after some of those battles. And she kept coming back out and winning. Tim Henman framed the bigger picture. For Grand Slam semifinals. A level of tennis right now that is as good as anything she's produced in her career. The belief, the confidence, the wins over the biggest names in the game. He asked the question we're all thinking. Why not a Grand Slam final? Why not more? And the timing of this title matters enormously. Roland Garros begins on May 24th. The French Open, the one major she has never won. The one trophy that has always sat just out of reach for her. She arrives in Paris now not as a feel-good story. Not as someone who is simply impressive given everything she's been through. She arrives as a genuine, dangerous, proven contender. Someone who just dismantled the top of the draw on clay in the biggest warm-up event before the Grand Slam. Gauff won the French Open last year. Swiatek has won it multiple times. Rybakina is always a threat. The draw will be brutal, as it always is. But Svitolina has just proven, in the clearest possible terms, that she belongs in that conversation. A mother, a warrior, a clay court champion, and now, maybe, a Grand Slam finalist in waiting. Paris is next, and Elina Svitolina is ready.